this is our first official inspection of our IEBA hives. This hive here is a new package, 3 pounds of bees and a carniolan queen. It is all on foundation with a black inline feeder in it. We already have set out here, we've got our hive tool, we've got our syrup to put in there, we have our smoker so we can control the bees a little bit. So before you ever open the hive, make sure you have everything you need so you can get in and get out in a hurry and not disturb them too much. So Jim's going to go ahead and remove the lid. This
now
is the
first I'm going to give them a shot of just
to
let them know that I'm here. And that's really all you need right there. And then once you take the lid off and set it to the side back here, then you can give them another, just a gentle smoke there, and that just lets them know that you're here.
So we're going to take that inner cover off. We're going to lean it up against the front board very gently. And that way they want to crawl back in, they can easily crawl right into the hive on their own. Now you'll notice the feeder's on the right side. We have 2 choices here because this is a package that has, if you look here fairly carefully, the bees are sitting right here. So that outside frame right here is pretty much empty of bees. Jim will easily be able to get that frame out. A lot of times we would take the feeder out first, but today we're going to take this frame out. He's going to look at it, make sure there's no queen on it. You can see the bees are just kind of hiding from work. Okay.
You want to set this hive on the opposite, or this frame on the opposite side of where you're kneeling. Otherwise, they'll have a tendency to crawl right up your pant leg.
Yep. And look at how he splits the hive apart with his hive tool. He's got his hive tool in his hand. Well, there's a really good sign on that hive frame. Look at all the drawn comb they're doing already. That's excellent. This time, you know, in 7 days for them to have drawn comb. And they've got it on the other side too. They're drawing it out. See that? You can see the white versus the yellow. They're working on drawn comb, which is beautiful.
Now you can take this frame and gently set it to the inside, and that way you have enough room to continue on and not have frames all around the outside of your hive.
See the gap he's got there to get him out so he doesn't brush the bees against anything? If you look up here, we have them putting away either nectar or syrup, but we fed them 7 days ago, and you can look in here, we got yellow pollen showing up. Do we have any eggs there in the middle, Jim?
Always when you're checking your frame, do it over your hive. Yep. Don't do it out here because the queen may be on the back side of that frame you're looking at, and she may fall off, and then you've got trouble. Now here, right here, you can see a drone right here. See how fatter he is? His eyes are on top of his head. See all this dark here? This is pollen that they're bringing in. But I don't see any eggs yet.
So the interesting thing here at this location is, because we've been here for so many years, and if you scanned around our area, you would see maple trees blooming to be heck. And our experience from last year is the bees brought in a lot of extra nectar from the maple trees, and the dandelions are starting to bloom really heavy here.
Now when you take your frame and you set it back into the hive, go back to touch the frame that it's going to be next to, and then slide it down gently. That way, instead of pushing it over this way,
now watch how he pries them apart with his hive tool. See, a lot more nectar up here. You can see how it is right there. See how they're dropping pollen down in here? I don't see the queen on that one.
Yet.
Don't be disappointed if you don't see the queen, but what we're always looking for is eggs first, and then that gives us a good indication she might be nearby. But finding eggs also tells us that she's doing her job even if we don't see her. Don't go through the hive 8 times this time of year looking for the queen when you can find eggs and know she's working. Now, this is a good indicator that you're getting closer to her. Look at how they've drawn the comb down to the close to the bottom of the frame. Much better.
Real close, you can see eggs. Looks like a real tiny kernel of rice. Now, if that egg is standing straight up, she's laid that within 3 days. After 3 days, that egg will lay down.
So normally the egg goes from straight up to 45 degrees and laying down. No sign of the queen yet. Now, we got brood on that one, so did we have brood on the backside?
No.
No. So we got it, maybe a half a frame there. Oh, she's gonna be hard to find it. Boy, those blue ones stood out last year compared to these white ones. Now this frame is not quite as drawn out for brood as the previous one he had. Look at how this honey is all bulged out here. They're going to town. Now don't be surprised if the frame next to your feeder is just like this one, barely drawn out at all. The plastic and everything kind of retards them a little bit from drawing that frame out unless the queen gets real close to it. I don't see her either. This is the fun of beekeeping. Find the queen.
So are you going to go back through it a couple times until you find her?
Well, we would normally tell you as a student not to do that. And the reason is you found eggs, so you know she's okay and you don't want to disturb the hive any more than necessary. But we'll go back as we close it up and look at that frame that has the eggs on it. She might be there and we just missed her.
Now, since this has been drawn out, you can take this, turn it around, and then they'll draw out the opposite side that was up against the plastic that has not been drawn out yet. We're gonna work our way back. More than likely she's right in here where we saw those eggs and we just missed her. You can do a couple different things. You can take your hive tool and gently just run it over the top of the bees.
Don't do that with your smoker. Don't move them with your smoker when you got a frame out. You could get a queen to drop off real easy. See how the bees are going to the bottom of the frame? And you noticed we only puffed this just gently in the round hole, and look at how nice and calm they are. Well, I don't see her on that frame, do you?
Another way you can separate the bees is, again, having the frame over the hive, gently blow on them, and that'll separate them a little bit also.
Or we playing hide and go seek today? Now you see what we're going through to find the queen, so you could see what is going to happen when this box is clear full of bees trying to find the queen. So most of the time we're looking for activity the queen has produced. And that usually tells us that everything is okay. If we find fresh eggs, and next time we inspect, we'll be looking for some capped brood. It'll be over 8 days.
Now they may have chewed the paint off of her already.
Yes.
They very well could have done that, which is going to make it even harder to find her because she is not real big yet. And so that's gonna, there's a lot of eggs right in here. I see a lot of eggs. I don't see her, but they may have chewed that paint off right away. Some colors they are more aggressive at getting rid of than others.
One of my queens has had all but a speck of paint chewed off already. Look at this, you got 3 sets of eyes on this and we don't find her. It's no big deal not seeing the queen. We just wanted to show it to you if we could find her.
We did find eggs.
Sometimes your queen wants to run to darkness.
Look at all these eggs right here. She's just doing a really good job of laying eggs right here.
Look at that. You could suspect where she's laying the eggs by how white the comb is. And you notice it isn't where they're putting honey, the comb is puffed out. Where they're laying eggs, the comb is more of a uniform height. See, there's our drone again.
Oh, I've seen like 4.
Yeah.
I'm really suspicious that they have already chewed the paint off this queen.
But they're hiding her pretty good, or she's not moving very much. There she is, right here.
Oh yeah, there she is.
So if you got to get light on that so Chris can get it. See her right here? She's hiding. There she goes. See her crawling underneath the bees? See? I don't know why she wants to hang out in the corner. I'll tell you, I don't normally put a frame back in a hive if the queen is right next to the wood. Because by the time I turn it over and move it, she very easily could move onto the wood and I could damage her. She's moved out enough now that it would be safe to put her back in the hive. And Jim and I have been saved a ton of embarrassment by finding the queen.
Take a good look at her. See how her abdomen is much longer
And the
than all
other
the
thing,
workers?
look at her segments. She's getting a little bit of brown in her segments. Next week we could look at this and she might be a cross of Carney and Caucasian. Next week will tell us for sure. And that would be what we would call that a tiger queen then. Look at how nice she's
just
moving.
Constantly looking, testing these cells, getting ready to lay.
See how she butts the bees out of the way? And the other thing is, she is looking down in that cell, looking to see if it is prepared for her to lay an egg in. And if she sees a cell ready, she will back her tail in to that cell and lay that egg, and it happens in seconds.
Now remember, these workers, they're excreting this wax through 6 glands on their belly, and they're building it that fast. That's pretty incredible.
This is an excellent package.
Okay, we're gonna set her back down in here.
Now notice how nice and gentle these bees, these are carnolans. The other thing is, you notice we limited the amount of smoke we used. Also, we're working them in kind of a morning time frame instead of midday, which keeps them a little more clustered because it's a little cooler. Now watch Jim put this frame back in, and then he's gonna push it up against there for now, and we're gonna keep this gap open over here. and everything tight so we don't get a buildup of propolis between our frames. If you leave a gap here, in 7 days it'll be full. Jim's now going to add some syrup to this. I happen to fortunately have a whole bunch of cans of syrup left over, so we'll use those up rather than make up a gallon of syrup, which most of you hobby beekeepers will have to do. Last year at this time, the honey flow on dandelions was so heavy here in Maple that we had to cease feeding the hives because they were putting away so much.
We've just finished filling the feeder. Only fill it 3/4 of the way full. Now, these feeders have ladders in them, and you're going to find that you're going to lose some bees. Some bees are going to drown, but that's normal. That's normal. If you don't have ladders in your feeders, most of the new feeders have ladders, and this is all open. A good idea is to put a piece of wood in there or something like that so they have something to crawl on. With the feeders without the ladders and this cover, you're going to have a higher mortality rate from the bees drowning. Now that we're all done, you notice that all these bees that were here have worked their way in. Now, if you look at these bees down here, see them fanning like this? They're fanning that pheromone, that queen's pheromone. And they're telling everybody that came from this hive, we're still here.
A good show there.
In the summer, you'll see a number of bees out front, and what they're doing is they're trying to cool the hive. They'll be cooling the hive that way, and then other bees will be bringing in water, setting it on top of the frames, and the bees will be fanning that also to keep that temperature down in the hive. Now, when you set your inner cover back on, just don't plop it down like this. Gently set it down at an angle and then turn it like this, making sure that the entrance is toward the entrance, and then set your outer cover on top like that.
So Jim, let's mark the top of this hive. So over in the corner here, we're going to write that we saw a queen, and it's a C21. Okay, that tells us we saw her. And then over here on this side, we're going to write how many frames of brood we saw, and then how many frames of bees we saw. So in this case, we'll mark it. What do you want to mark it, Jim? 1?
1, yeah.
Yeah, 1 bee. And we'll put down, we know a package is about 4 frames of bees. It didn't look like we were in excess of that.
Right.
So put 4 there. Normally we would also, before that, put the date, but we're transferring all this data to a card. So remember, in your packet you had a inspection sheet. We use that same inspection sheet every single week. We fill them out on every one of these hives.
Also make sure, I don't know if you saw me, but I pushed this top forward. Make sure you do that so they have access in there.
When we put this hive together in before package bee day, this was a solid frame of honey. That's what we put in every one of these. You can see they ate out this whole center. And right there, they put a queen cup. And Larry was right. He spotted it. And they've laid eggs. This side right here is against the wood, which is pretty not super common, but we've had really nice warm weather, so they're not hesitant to lay against the wood. But they ate the center of this out too. Look at that. They just opened it up. And they're up here working on the rest of it. And there's another queen cup. Don't be upset by queen cups, but I do recommend cutting them out, making sure they're empty and nothing crazy's going on. We have seen the queen in this. She's a nice black carniolan. And so it's kind of interesting, and there she is. So one of the kids, I kept telling him, where is bee suit? He didn't. He's a little 15-year-old. I'm going to be brave. Right, nailed him, right between the eyes, right in the forehead. That night, both eyes went
I was
shut.
gonna ask if he
And,
swelled up.
and I look, he to do that?
Yeah.
And you be the voice?
Yeah, that's fine. If there's something that I
Okay. I'll direct what we're. Okay. So you tell us when you're ready, Chris.
I'm ready.
All right.